Hello everyone and welcome to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com alongside the Trentonians George O'Gorman. I'm Mike Samsel. Today's show being presented by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman, Ford-Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. George, we're past the halfway point in the season now. These teams pretty much are what they are. A couple of teams pretty much eliminated from playoff contention, and things are really starting to take shape for the 2012 season.
Yeah, the final October should be a very interesting month. Some pretty good matchups, especially this weekend. You look over, I think just about every, except for maybe one or two games, a lot of the teams in the CVC teams, Mercer County teams, are playing away teams in Burlington County. So
Right.
should be some interesting matchups, very good games, and a couple that the two undefeated teams. Well, Allentown has a tough game at Holy Cross.
Yeah.
On Friday night. Saturday morning, Nottingham should prevail over a winless Pemberton team, but you never know, heading down into Burlington County. But there's some very good matchups, and I'm intrigued. Of course, we have the game between Hamilton and Trenton at Bill Harvin Stadium over at Trenton. That's, I guess, the repeat of last year's blizzard.
Right, yes,
well,
exactly.
We call it a blizzard. It was only probably a couple inches of snow, but it came so early in the year on Halloween. And we've got.
Let's hope we avoid it this year.
But you remember that was the game that went overtime, and Trenton lost it 3-0, and Hamilton actually ended up winning only one game. I think that was the only game that Hamilton won in the last 5. So it should be a very interesting matchup, that one. And then you've got games like Steinert and West Windsor North. And West Windsor South has another tough game. They head back into Burlington County after that game against Rancocas Valley the other day, the record-setting performance by Brian Schonauer. They head back to play a very good Burlington Township team. So a lot of good matchups this weekend.
Yeah, there should be some good ones this coming week. Last week, a bit of a light slate. A lot of games went the way we expected them, but probably the game of the week was the shootout in Hightstown. George, I think you and I were both expecting a lot of offense in that game, but I don't know that I was expecting 46-38.
No, in that game, it was, I guess, Steiner had jumped out to an early lead. I think they had 3 touchdowns in the first half. And, I mean, we knew the potential was there because both quarterbacks like to throw the ball. But I was surprised that, how that game is. It's another tough loss for Pete Bresch's Hightstown Rams. After losing at Notre Dame the week before on a late touchdown. Then they go in. I think they felt, the Trentonian had picked Hightstown to win. And Steiner was without a couple of key players. And yet they were able to pull out. And that's a big, congratulations to Dan Caruso and the Spartans for getting that win. That's a huge win for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's got to be tough for Hightstown moving forward, if only just to think what could have been. You're 2-3 now, and 2 or 3 breaks go the opposite way, and you're 4-1.
And if I remember correctly, Hightstown's got another tough game this week against a very improved Lawrence team.
Yes.
That's a Saturday morning game, I think, at Lawrence. That's very interesting matchups this weekend. But we'll get into that as we recap what went on last weekend.
Some scores just we want to update you on. Bordentown 39, Ewing 17, Delran 27-14 over Robbinsville, Lawrence 35-3 over Princeton. Some people were expecting that game to maybe be a little bit closer, but Rob Radis's Cardinals came out, played well, and disposed of Princeton pretty early.
Well, remember, Rob Radis's Cardinals have played well all season long. They they want to get back above 500 after slipping for the last 2 years. They had, it was a pretty good win for them last week when they beat Princeton, and then they came back this weekend and had a real nice win. And they beat Ewing in their first game against the Mercer County team.
Right.
And now they got Hightstown. So Samai Mitchell's not only doing their job, Cameron Kitchens running the ball, Nick Falkenberg threw a couple more touchdown passes. That's a well-balanced Lawrence team, and maybe if they can get into the playoffs, might be able to do something in that lower group.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to keep an eye on with the Cardinals. Allentown 48, Trenton 6, Notre Dame 28-0 over West Windsor Plainsboro North, Nottingham 28-0 over Hamilton. So a couple of impressive wins there by three of the top four teams in Mercer County. And the other one, a lot of people can sense to say make up the top four, is West Windsor Plainsboro South. They handled RV 24-15. George, we mentioned that win and Brian Schoenhauer's impressive performance. That's the consensus top four. And Steiner now starting to get that offense together. They're up to 3-2 on the season. They may be making a little noise there, sneaking toward Group 3 playoff contention.
Probably could go to 4-2 this weekend. I would think that Spartans got to be at least a touchdown to 2-touchdown favorite when they head into West Windsor, Plainsboro North.
Right.
Chris Casamento's team, they're due to put it all together. Remember, they played a couple tough games. They didn't play bad against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. But Notre Dame just was able to come up with some big plays. Notre Dame's a little more balanced offensively and doing a good job defensively. But that Steiner, if Steiner can go in there and put together another win, that would really bode well for them as they get into playoff contention heading into the middle of October.
Don't forget you can follow the WBCB Sports Network on Twitter, twitter.com/WBCB Sports. If it seemed like we breezed through the recap, we kind of did, because trust me, we have a very busy slate of Mercer County football games coming up this week, so we want to get to all of them for you here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital in the city of Trenton, and also Haldeman Ford, Route 33 in Hamilton Township. We'll be right back after this here on WBCB1490.com.
I'm Jerry Jablonowski, President and Chief Executive Officer of St. Francis Medical Center. For over 137 years, St. Francis has remained committed to the people of Trenton, living out our mission to be a transforming, healing presence in the communities we serve by delivering top-quality health care to all in a personal and compassionate manner. We have continually expanded our services to meet the changing healthcare needs of our city. Despite the hospital changes taking place in Trenton, St. Francis will continue to be here, providing all the residents of Trenton with access to top-quality health care, both at our hospital and within your communities where you live and work. Our renowned services in cardiac care, cancer treatment, and stroke care, in addition to our newly designed comprehensive care of chronic diseases, will continue to provide Trenton with the best in healthcare services. Our emergency room is always open for your immediate needs in times of medical crisis. St. Francis Medical Center will be here so you'll be well.
The Trentonian presents Philadelphia Eagles Football Frenzy. You could win the grand prize to see the Eagles play Dallas in Dallas on December 2nd. Get your copy of the Daily Trentonian to register. Enter between now and September 30th for your chance to win. Every Sunday, the Trentonian is giving out a $100 gift card, a 2-night hotel package for two with your choice of a regular season Eagles game, and on October 7th, the grand prize will be announced. A flyaway package to Dallas to see the Eagles take on the Cowboys December 2nd with 2-night hotel accommodations. For entry rules, check the Daily Trentonian and enter as often as you like in the Trentonian or online at Trentonian.com. It's the Philadelphia Football Frenzy from the Trentonian, the only local paper serving both Bucks and Mercer counties.
Back here on the Mercer County Football Show, presented by St. Francis Medical Center and Haldeman Ford-Subaru, alongside the Trentonians George O'Gorman. I'm Mike Sampson, taking a quick look at the standings for you in the West Jersey Football League here on the High School Football Kickoff Show. In the Liberty Division, two teams from our area we keep an eye on, Ewing and Robbinsville, both struggling. They come in at 1-4, 0-3. In the Liberty, in the Freedom Division, something worth keeping an eye on. The Florence Flash is 4-0 on the season, 2-0 in the division. They are a half game behind Maple Shade, who's at 3-0 and 4-1 on the season. In the Colonial Division, where you see a lot, if not most, Mercer County teams, Notre Dame comes in. They're in the lead, 4-0, 2-0 in the division. West Windsor Plainsboro South tied for the division lead at 2-0, but they're at 4-1. 1-4 for Trenton, but they come into the division at 1-1. RV is 1-2 in the division, 1-3 on the year. And West Windsor Plainsboro North is 0-5, 0-3 on the year, which of course sets up that big matchup, George, on the 26th between Notre Dame and South. That's probably going to be for the Colonial Division title.
But is it a week before that?
Actually, that's on the 19th. Yeah, I apologize. That matchup.
And Notre Dame has another big game coming up with Allentown.
Yeah. 3 big games coming up for Notre Dame in the next 3 weeks. We're going to find out a lot about them.
And it's 3 big games for Jay Graber's Redbirds, too, who hit the road now. They've been home for a couple of weeks. I think they only had one away game. I think that was the game at Hamilton when they shut out the Hornets. Mm-hmm. But they go into Burlington County. They travel down Route 130 they got a huge game against Holy Cross. Holy Cross is 2-2, but the Lancers are always a team that can put up a lot of points. They've always been known for a great passing game. This is a big test for Allentown heading down into Burlington County. And, Friday night, not far away from there, you've got West Windsor South playing an undefeated Burlington Township team. And Burlington Township, coached by former Holy Cross coach Tom Madera, that's a team that could be a very big test. Maybe some people aren't thinking that much about that, people that don't maybe not follow Burlington Township, but that's a huge game for Malik Fuller and Andrew Murray and Thomas Staffios and Brian Schoenauer. I was very impressed with the performance that Brian Schoenauer put on and the Pirates put on the other day. I never saw anybody start a game like Brian Schoenauer did. Made a great interception, and right after that, broke off his first run. I think he went like 70 yards.
Yeah.
And to get him down to about the 20, and then he scored a couple plays later. And, of course, Brian, he's only really, started 3 games? That was his second start back after the hamstring injury. Mm-hmm. Because he got hurt in the second game against Steiner when they lost. But Schoenauer, he had 300 yards on 15 carries. That put him over, put him up to 700
That's
on the
unbelievable.
season. And he had some really long runs in there. He did get winded a couple of times, and I talked to him after the game, and I said, "You look like you're gassed a little bit." He said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "But he does what the team needs." But the interesting thing was he broke the record that Ross Shurman had set a couple of years ago, the career record when Ross ran for 3,800 yards, 3,842 I think it was in his career at Allentown. He's now starring up at Lafayette. Mm-hmm. But here's Brian Schoenauer, who is over 4,000, the first guy in Mercer County history, over 4,000 rushing yards for his career. I think he's at 4,009, and he's still got half a season left to go.
Yeah, and it looks like he'll be playing in the Ivy League next year.
Probably,
talking to Princeton, Harvard.
Yes, I know that would. And he's a very good student, and some people may be surprised that saw him in track last spring, and he's got some speed. And once he gets into the open, you got guys that are trying to track him down, and he's just like shifting it into another gear and just taking off and running well.
Yeah.
But he's really a class kid.
Yeah, taking a look at things, continuing our West Jersey Football League standings in the Patriot Division. Lawrence just one game behind Burlington Township. Burlington Township 4-0 on the year, 3-0 in the league. Lawrence is 2-1 on the league and 3-2 in the season. And down in the Valley Division, where we see a lot of Mercer County teams as well, Nottingham in front, 3-0, 5-0 on the year. Tied, of course, with Allentown, 5-0 and 3-0. Coming up on the 20th will be the matchup for those two teams. That's going to be a great game. You're not going to want to miss that one. Steiner at 3-2, 1-2 in the Valley Division. Hopewell Valley 2-2 and 1-2. Heightstown 2-3 and 1-2, and at the bottom is Hamilton 1-4 and 0-3 in the Valley Division. So those are your updated West Jersey Football League standings. And George, a lot of times we like to say we have a game of the week coming up in Mercer County, but you just take a look at the slate here. There could be 3-4 games that you could pick here. I mean, Delran Florence is a matchup of undefeateds. West Windsor, Plainsboro South, and Burlington, and Nottingham, Pemberton. That should be a good win for Nottingham. Hopewell Valley and Notre Dame's probably going to be a very good game as well.
That could be a very good game. Hopewell had to bye last weekend, and now they're coming back. They got knocked off a couple of weeks ago in their homecoming game by Heightstown, and then they bounced back with a nice win, and then they had to bye last weekend. So they could give the Irish a little bit of trouble, but I think Notre Dame is starting to roll now.
Yeah, Notre Dame does look like they're starting to get their flow offensively. That's a game we'll have for you on 107.7 The Bronx and 107.7thebronx.com. Coming up on Friday, coverage starts at 6:45. George and I will be out at Monsignor Walter Nolan Field. New Egypt will be in action against Ewing. That one's on Saturday afternoon, and that's
interesting because Ewing has lights.
Yeah.
And yet they're playing a Saturday afternoon game. I don't know what that's about.
But that should be an interesting game. That's another good opportunity there for Jude Bessler to get a win with his Ewing Blue Devils.
Yeah, they're not a bad ball club. Siobhan Cooper is an excellent receiver. Ewing kind of needs a breakthrough game. I mean, they just got to get their minds together. I mean, there's a lot of tradition at Ewing, and it's slipped off the last couple of years, but Drew's trying to get it back. New Egypt is not a pushover. New Egypt is a good ball club.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, I know they got pounded earlier in the year by Florence, but they could go in there and give Ewing some trouble. And Robbinsville, on the other hand, Robbinsville's 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of due for a. They've had some tough matchups with some very good teams.
Right.
I think last week did they play Delran or no, Cinnaminson? I know that they've lost to two of the better teams in that West Jersey League division they're in.
Right.
But they've got a good game. They should be able to handle this winless Riverside team this weekend.
Yeah, Riverside comes in at 0-4.
Robbinsville with Kyle Scott.
Mm-hmm.
He's running the ball well. This is Jordan Gray's team's got to put it together, and this could be the weekend that they do it. And as we said, it's a lot of games, evenly matched games. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Including the game that we'll be doing on Saturday, Hamilton at Trenton.
Trenton has a shot to win that game, George. That's a very talented Trenton team.
I would pick Trenton to win that game.
Yeah?
I think Trenton can win that game.
I really believe that one, too. That one will be coming up Saturday. I believe that one's on BCB on the AM starting.
I think it's a 12 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, so 11:45 pregame show on the AM. You can check our website to confirm that one, but I believe it's on WBCB 1490. Another game, Friday night. Man, this will be a good one. I mistakenly said it was last week. Both teams had a bye last week. Delran 5-0 comes into Florence 4-0. That one will be on Friday night, and that should be, if not the main event of the evening, probably the number one undercard.
Well, as I said, there's some good games on Friday night.
Yeah.
The game we're doing is not one of the showcase games, Notre Dame and, although it should be a good game, Notre Dame Hopewell Valley. But as we said, you've got Allentown going in to play Holy Cross.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the Florence Delran game. You've got West Windsor South at Burlington Township. You got a choice of some good games Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we can't do them all on the radio.
Yeah, I was going to say, we only have a couple of frequencies to be able to do all these games. Friday night, though, I like Joe Frapoli in that matchup. I think the Florence Flashes are going to come out on top.
I would think so. Just, the Flashes are home, and they always seem to get the big fan support, especially when they're playing some of the Burlington County rivals who they don't always face.
Mm-hmm.
But this should be a very good game for the Flashes. Kind of could solidify their run to an unbeaten regular season.
Yeah, very well could. Friday night we talked about it, Hopewell Valley and Notre Dame. George and I don't want to pick that one as we'll be doing the broadcast of that one. You'll be able to check it out Friday night on 107.7 The Bronx and 107.7thebronx.com. Also on Friday night, West Windsor Plainsboro South heads into an undefeated Burlington Township. That is going to be a good game, and I think most of that game is going to depend on the healthy hamstring of Brian Schoenhauer.
Yeah, and that's going to have to be a lot on the defense. You remember, Schoenhauer plays defense also. He plays in the secondary. And, last week they ran Andrew Murray a little bit more. They kind of, for a game that was going back and forth, and they had jumped out to a pretty good lead early. And Schoenhauer, as we said, only had 15 carries. He averaged, 20 yards a carry?
Mm-hmm.
15 carries, 300 yards. They ran Andrew Murray a lot more. They may try to throw the ball. Todd Smith liked to mix in the pass last week. He hit Tom Estafios with a nice pass that set up a touchdown. I would think that that might be the. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because Allentown, as I said, Allentown, Holy Cross. There's some good games.
There really are.
You wish the schedule makers would. Well, they never know from year to year who's going to be strong, but
right.
That's. I think it's the first time that West Windsor South has ever played Burlington Township.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is like a changeover from different divisions. But that should be a very good game.
That should be a very good game. If Schoenhauer stays healthy, I like South, but if you told me Burlington Township wins this game, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Well, Burlington Township had a relatively close game a couple weeks ago with Ewing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I can never discount a West Windsor South team as long as they've got Brian Schoenhauer healthy and running the ball.
Right.
And, their defense tends to get overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
But they play some pretty good defense. And, Todd Smith's got a nice group there. And they got some young kids, too. And Malik Fuller's getting better. Remember, he came into the season relatively inexperienced.
Right.
But, I'm intrigued more the more I look at that game.
Yeah, that should really be a fun matchup on Friday night. And we won't be doing the broadcast of that game, but a great way to follow it. Go to Trentonian.com. You can see the Trentonian chat link. And, George, I know we'll have the laptop out there at Monsignor Walter Nolan Field, keeping you updated on everything that's going on. But that'll certainly be a good one to follow on the Trentonian chat. On Saturday, a game we'll have for you. Hamilton takes on Trenton. Both teams come in at 1-4. And, George, you and I both said it. I think I'm going to go safe and pick Hamilton to win, but Trenton can win this game.
Oh, they definitely can win the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the receivers that they've got. We keep mentioning every week about Hakeem Horton and Zaire Clemens.
Right.
And
we saw how good Clemens looked in that Steiner
Ryan
game.
Horton is running the ball well, and he's been running it every week. And Tremaine Nieves is starting to get, starting to do some nice things in the run game and play. He's one of the better linebackers, too, in Mercer County.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to spell Wharton a little bit and run Nieves. That's a toss-up game, too. I mean, I'm going to go with Trenton. They're home.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been a little more consistent, I would say, than the Hornets have been. And Hamilton's got to be struggling, thinking about, where is all this, what's going wrong here.
Right. Taking a look, another game we have for you on Saturday. Northern Burlington will be taking on Rancocas Valley. That's an RV team that you just saw last week. Talented team. Northern Burlington comes in at 2-2. Rancocas Valley comes in at 1-3. Again, another evenly matched up game.
It's amazing, as we said, how many games are evenly matched up. Probably the only one that you could say isn't really a good matchup, on paper at least, would be Nottingham at Pemberton.
Yeah.
Nottingham going 5-0, Pemberton 0-4, Nottingham having allowed only one touchdown. And that's interesting. The only points they've given up has been to a winless West Windsor North team.
Right.
But here's a chance for John Adams' North Stars to get a good win over the Pemberton Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to like the way that the offense is coming together. By coming together, I mean the fact that he's able to alternate quarterbacks if you want to. I'm not saying there's a quarterback controversy over there at Nottingham, but Stephen Adams has been starting the game, John's son, and been doing very well.
Yeah.
And then the other day they bring in Luke Westerberg, and he throws like a 50-yard touchdown pass on the opening, his first pass of the game, wasn't it?
It was his first pass of the day, and that's something that Coach John Adams, I was talking to him a little bit, and we're actually going to hear from him on the high school football kickoff show, Friday night, 5:30 on WBCB. That's something he's sticking to. He's alternating drives between Stephen and Luke Westerberg at quarterback. Seems to be a plan he's sticking to.
And, they got their defenses really coming together well. Devin Thompson and McGovern Gabriel, those two kids, Malagrino is playing well. That's a total package that Nottingham has got. And, Nottingham should be able to pick up some power points as they head into the latter part of their season, where they got the games with Allentown. Of course, the big showdown with Notre Dame will come after the game after the Thanksgiving. It'll be the day after Thanksgiving.
Right.
But the North Stars, they're starting to get into the really. I don't want to say that the first part of the season has been easy.
Right.
It hasn't been. They've had some tough teams, but
they're getting into the meat of the schedule now.
Into the meat of the schedule because they've got the Allentown game coming up.
Mm-hmm.
They've got another game with Hightstown, which, who knows? I mean, Hightstown could put it all together. We've seen them. Remember, they could have, if they had just been a little tighter on defense, they could have knocked off Notre Dame a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
But, Nottingham is, they're a fun team to watch. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to see them a lot this year, but hopefully they're going to make a nice run in the playoffs, similar to what Steiner did last year.
Princeton will be at 1-4. They're taking on Willingboro. That game's going to be at Friday night. That's another good opportunity for the Little Tigers.
I don't know about that. I'd like to see Princeton win, but Willingboro, they blew a game the other day at Northern Burlington, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
They had the ball, and all they had to do was take a knee or at the end of the game, and instead they turned the ball over. And Northern Burlington throws a touchdown pass and beats them.
Oh, wow.
And I think it went overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And Northern Burlington scored like 9 points in the fourth quarter to come back after Willingboro had what appeared to be a fairly comfortable lead.
Mm-hmm.
But, Princeton, Will Harrison's running the ball well, and Callahan O'Meara is catching the ball well. Zach DeGregorio is a nice little quarterback. I gotta wonder, Willingboro probably doesn't know anything about Princeton.
Right.
These teams I don't think have ever played. I gotta wonder if Princeton can go in there and be focused. Maybe they can pull off the upset. Remember, Northern Burlington beat Willingboro last week, and Princeton opened its season with its only win by beating Northern Burlington.
Right. So just going by that, yeah, it could be a very evenly matched game, right? Yeah. Friday, I believe this one will be Friday night. West Windsor Plainsboro North hosts Steiner. That one was listed as a Friday night game on the website. I didn't know North had lights.
North doesn't have lights yet.
Okay, so it's a Saturday game. That was mislisted on the website. But Saturday afternoon, speaking of teams that are starting to come together, the Steiner Spartans really starting to look good offensively.
Well, remember, they beat West Windsor South in the second game of the season after getting shut out the first week by Allentown. And you got to see if the Spartans are going to be totally healthy. Vanel Deuces, he's a receiver that everybody's going to double team, and yet he still comes up with catches. I think he had 3 touchdown receptions the other day,
right?
If I'm not mistaken. And I think that Steiner just has a lot more weapons than West Windsor North has, who primarily rely on on the running of Tyrone Parker. And they were able to move the ball fairly well over there at Notre Dame last week, but I like the Steiner defense. It's getting better, and really, and the other thing is, I'm totally impressed with Jeff Mantinelli.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid just keeps putting up numbers, which I didn't realize he could. I knew he was a good receiver. I didn't know he could run the ball. He had 190 yards, was it, the other day against, for the Spartans, 190 yards? I was surprised to see that number. That's really pushed him right up into the thick of the CVC rushing race. And as I said, he just complements that the receiving game. But now the fact that he can put up 190 yards rushing, that's impressive. Of course, that was a free, wild game going back and forth. The Heightstown game against, Steiner.
Yeah. Barry Teftola had a couple 30-yard field goals in that game too.
That's the unfortunate thing about those Friday night games. You'd like to see them all.
Right.
Problem being, from our standpoint at the paper, there's such early deadlines on Friday nights that you got to get these games in. A couple of games ended just after the deadline, and sometimes the only way you can get to them is by going on the internet. But and plus, if you get a high, if it's not a game that's like puts up like over 90 points,
yeah,
we're being held up for half an hour by lightning. We haven't really had we had a fairly smooth running game with Notre Dame the other night. That got over, I think, about 9:15, which wasn't bad for a 7 o'clock start. But this Steiner, that's a huge win. I can't say enough about that. And I'll tell you what, Pete Bresh's team, they're due to have a big breakout game. They really haven't. Their 2 wins have come over Princeton, and I think that they beat West Windsor North.
I believe so, yeah.
And they're hovering around just below 500 there. They got a shot to get to the playoffs. As Pete Brescia had mentioned, that was a big playoff game last week because of the opportunity it gave them to pick up some power points.
Right.
But they go into Lawrence, and I think the way Rob Radis has the Cardinals playing right now, I gotta like Lawrence to pull that game out. I think, is that an early game? Is that 11 o'clock?
I believe that's an early Saturday game. And Lawrence hosts that game as well. So.
And that's a very good game. And as we said, this is a good weekend because there's some very evenly matched teams going head to head, and I would say a couple toss-up games. You just look over this list. There's probably about a half dozen, if not more, games that you could just flip a coin and it could go either way.
Friday night, last game we're going to talk about, Allentown heads into Holy Cross.
Well, what can you say about the Redbirds? They just keep doing it. Thought they might have had a little trouble last week with Trenton, but they come out, put the points up early, and are playing good defense. We talk about the explosive offense they've got with Norman Williams running the ball and Nick Palladino throwing it. but they're playing excellent defense too. I mean,
Frank Juba, their middle linebacker, the guy who averages over 100 tackles.
I tell you what,
this season.
This kid is very, very good, and they're over. Because they do so much on offense, you kind of overlook or you forget about what they're doing on defense. But that's a very good ball club there at Allentown. I mean, I can see them going into Holy Cross and shutting down the Lancers. The Lancers may not know anything about Allentown, but I know that Jay Graber has his kids pumped up because this is, I don't want to say it's a step up, but it's a chance to go into Burlington County and beat what had always been a traditional Burlington County power. And this was a team that, back when Jay Graber was playing at Notre Dame and putting up awesome numbers with his passing, Holy Cross was doing the same thing down in Delran in Burlington County, putting up great numbers, probably the highest scoring team in the state at one time. And I think they won a non-public state championship, got to the finals a couple of times. They've dropped down in size. I think they're down now to a non-public Group 2. They had been a 4 a long time, then they dropped to a 3. Now they're down to a Group 2 in the non-public. But they've got a traditional program. And remember, the only parochial school in all of Burlington County, so they can draw from a lot of places. And this is a good game for Allentown.
Yeah,
they can win this.
This will be a good game to keep an eye on. That'll be one of the Friday night games. So a great slate we mentioned for you in Mercer County this week. That'll bring us to the thing we always wrap up this show with, and that's Ask Oj, an opportunity for us to ask George anything we want to ask him about. If you have any questions, a couple ways to send them in. Either msamsel, S-A-M-S-E-L, at WBCB1490.com, or you can tweet at me as well, at Mike Samsel, S-A-M-S-E-L. George, question for you this week. We look at the season this year. We see a team in Steinert that's starting to come together a little bit. But West Windsor, Plainsboro South, Nottingham, Notre Dame, a lot of balance in Mercer County this year. Is this one of the more balanced years that you can remember where there are 4 or 5 good teams?
A lot of parity.
Yeah.
You talk about parity in the NFL, parity in Major League Baseball. There's a lot of parity in Mercer County football. Again, the traditional teams that you think are always going to be up every year are doing well. West Windsor South, Notre Dame, they're up there. But, Allentown, this is a program, as we mentioned last week, this is a program that had lost 33 straight games over a couple of years.
Yeah.
Then they brought in the late John Amafield to be the coach. They brought in the fellow, I forget his name now, he's down at Brick. And then Jay Graber finally came in. They had 4 coaches in 5 years. And they've solidified it now with Jay Graber there. And remember, Allentown is a growing program. They've got an excellent soccer team. Their boys' soccer team may be the only undefeated team left in Mercer County. The girls' soccer team is very good. They've always been a power in field hockey. Allentown is kind of like, they're not the Allentown that your grandparents or parents used to know.
Right. This
is a very good Allentown athletic program. Brian Irwin's doing a great job there. And it's all headlined by what Jay Graber has been able to do with this Redbirds football team. And I remember a couple of years ago, when they had Ross Shurman there, and he was really putting up awesome numbers. And how we see his records his all-time career record has been surpassed by Brian Schoenauer. But Allentown, this is kind of like the crunch time for Allentown. They've got Holy Cross, they've got Nottingham coming up, they got Notre Dame, and if they can get a couple wins, I would say, you like this. I don't want to say they're going to go undefeated,
right?
But they can pick up a couple of wins there. They can possibly come through with a top seed for the playoffs. And remember, as we said, last year they went into the playoffs. They hosted Neptune, had a chance to knock off the Flyers, went to overtime, close play that really could have gone either way, didn't go for the Redbirds. They ended up losing in overtime to Neptune. Neptune goes on the next week, knocks off Northern Burlington, the top seed, and then, of course, rallied over at Rutgers to beat Steiner. So who knows? I mean, Allentown's got that experience. Remember, last year's playoff game was the first Allentown it had.
Right.
Now those kids still remember that. So Allentown gets to the playoffs, who knows what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great week in Mercer County. Make sure you stay tuned. You can watch on Trentonian.com. You have the Trentonian chat. You can listen to George and I this weekend. Friday night, we're at Notre Dame. Saturday, we are out at Trenton. You can head to our website, WBCB1490.com, for updated schedule information and broadcast schedules for the coming weeks as well. That'll do it for this week's Mercer County Football Show. Big thanks as well to St. Francis Medical Center and Haldeman Ford-Subaru for sponsoring this week's show. For the Trentonian George O'Gorman, I'm Mike Samsel. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week here on WBCB1490.com. Have a great day, everyone.
You know, it's almost a shame that we can't do like the NFL.